this morning for the last of this series, at least for this year of presentations. So thank you, for United ISD and your continued support and partnership. And, thank you guys for joining me this morning on this talk about the power of acceptance and respect. So just a little bit about what we'll be discussing this morning is, understanding identity, the role of acceptance, the importance of respect, encouraging open communication, and creating open environments. So I'm going to start out by, talking a little bit about identity. So what does the term identity mean? It's a term used widely across many settings and in different contexts, but how is the word identity actually defined? So according to the Oxford Dictionary, it tells us that the word identity refers to who or what somebody or something is. To give some more detail, identity means different qualities and experiences of each individual person, which makes us able to offer different perspectives to the person, our neighbors, friends, or the person next to us. Identity can consist of a range of human differences, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, social class, physical abilities or attributes, religious or ethical value systems, national origin, and political beliefs. So cultural identity, this type of identity is related to each person's ethnicity, and it's usually the set of norms we get from the society we are raised in or our family values. Race identity has to do with a person's grouping based on physical traits, despite the dominant view that race is a social construct and not biologically defined. And examples of race are African American, Caucasian, Latino, Asian, East Asian. There's religious identity, and this type of identity refers to the presence of multiple religious and spiritual beliefs, and including lack of. There's age identity. Age identity means working with people or individuals of different ages, and most importantly, generations. For example, you have millennials, you have Gen Zers and Gen Xers, and, we can all coexist in the same environment. And then there's sex, gender, and sexual orientation. And, sex and gender can be used in the traditional sense of male and female, but as gender is increasingly defined, the term gender identity it is used. There's disabilities. There are various types of disabilities or chronic conditions included here, and it ranges from mental to physical. And there's also some additional type of identities. Apart from the protected characteristics, there are other important types of identities too, like socioeconomic background, class diversity, education, life experiences, personality, a general worldview, or opinions. And these are characteristics that are more intangible than the other characteristics that we, talked about, but it's equally useful to take them into account. So I wanted to, as I was preparing for this presentation, and this part of it can be a little bit more interactive, I put together kind of a collage of, what my identity would be. So, I put different pictures and different words to kind of represent that. So, I am a friend, I'm married, I'm a, someone's daughter, I'm someone's wife, I'm someone's mother. Um, I provide therapy and counseling. I'm a sister-in-law, I'm a cat and dog mom, I call him my fur baby. I'm a co-worker, colleague. Up here I have a picture of an apartment building. I grew up in the inner city, so that kind of shapes my identity and my thoughts and beliefs. This morning I just added, I'm a Generation X. Xer. So, and that's something that has, shaped me and my identity. So, I don't know if anyone would like to just share a little bit about how they identify or how do they, see themselves, or what their, what you feel your identity is.
I think I share a lot of the same ones as you, Professor Darnay.
Mhm,
Also, I would say an auntie, I'm married, wife, mother. Um, I'm a mother of a daughter and a son.
mhm,
We're cat and dog moms as well there at the house. And I was also a counselor for about um 25 plus years.
mhm,
And I'm also a friend.
mhm.
So I do share a lot of the same ones as you.
Exactly. And in thinking about this presentation, I was thinking about how do, what I identify, as how does that shape, my values and my beliefs. And, just kind of came to the realization that, all of this plays a part in who I am. So thank you for sharing that. So I want to talk a little bit about, acceptance. And acceptance is the ability to see that others have a right to be their own unique persons. And, based on how we identify or how we grew up, what our value systems are, we're all unique in that, respect. And that means having a right to their own feelings, thoughts, and opinions. When you accept people for who they are, you let go of your desire to change them. You let them feel the way they want to feel. You let them be different and think differently from you. And, we're able to respect that. We are all unique and different in our own ways. And it's nice when we are accepted by others, just for who we are. Accepting our differences, it, it's not an easy process sometimes, and I will admit, but if you are open to the idea, and here are just some suggestions on how to introduce this process into your life. One is staying away from negative judging. We all agree, that we as human beings have an instinct to judge one another. However, instead of pointing out the negatives in others, perhaps take a step back and appreciate the differences in that person and understand that you can learn something new from each person you cross paths with. Negative judging will prevent you from seeing the good that lies within different individuals. You know, um, so free yourself from judgment. Make it a point to set aside your viewpoints and listen to others. And, just going over the aspects of how I identify myself. And, I can imagine that a lot of individuals out there, come from different backgrounds, different beliefs. And it's nice when we can kind of set aside, our judgments and just being able to listen to the person and appreciate, where they come from and honor their value systems and see that their, how their identity shapes their perspective. Um, you never know what amazing lessons you can learn from them. Focusing on the positive. Our approach may not always be the right one, for us to embrace change. Instead of wasting our time thinking why someone is different from us, have an open mind and focus on the positive that they may bring into your life and be open to learning from their differences or their different experiences and backgrounds. Learn how to differentiate between tolerance and acceptance. Now, tolerance is when we know that there are people with distinct beliefs, race, culture, sexual orientation, or tradition that coexist with us in our world, regardless of the disagreements in our ideas and values. But we do not get close to them or really interact with them. We know that they're there. They have, their beliefs, but it's sort of like we don't interact, we don't get close, but we acknowledge that they're there. So acceptance is when we allow these individuals to be just the way they are. Accepting others means that we acknowledge that they have their own opinions, emotions, and principles without criticizing them and attempting to change them. Know that it's not personal. And what I mean by that is that people's behavior is more of an expression of themselves and their experiences and not a reflection on you. So whatever way they behave, whether positively or negatively, know that their behavior is not directed towards you. To be able to understand and accept other differences, do not take the other person's behavior personally. Take yourself out of the equation and look at the wider picture of what is going on and the reason for their behavior. Abandon your need to control. Try not to react to the other individual's behavior or views. Remember, the only control you have is over yourself. Now, I'm not insinuating that you should accept all behaviors, especially if it makes you uncomfortable. When you find someone, or when you find yourself in an awkward situation, you may choose to politely point out the intolerable behavior or just walk away, but do not try to control it. And, another way to express acceptance is to try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. A good way to accept others' differences is to put ourselves in their shoes and get to know them better. When you approach others with understanding and empathy, you will find that it's easier, to accept them. Now I want to talk a little bit about respect. So, respect is defined as a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something because of their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Everyone likes to feel and be shown respect. So, how do we show each other respect? We listen with an open mind. It is common for people to seek to win the argument when they encounter someone who has a different opinion. This can lead to hostility and tension. This is also not the most productive approach. Instead of getting aggressive and defensive when someone has a difference of opinion, we should try to engage in a dialogue. There is certainly some reason. There is certainly some reason why they are feeling the way that they do. So instead of simply dismissing the other person's opinion, try listening with an open mind and seek to understand their perspective. Where they're coming from, how has their experiences shaped, what they feel, what they think, what they believe. When you listen to others, you gain insight and perspective. You can start out, possibly by saying that, that's interesting. Why do you feel that way? Or, remember that just because you are listening to them doesn't mean that they have to agree, that you have to agree with them, but it does demonstrate respect and show your willingness to listen to their point of view. You want to appreciate diversity. It is important to remember that everyone comes from different backgrounds, cultures, and personal and professional experiences. There is much more to be gained from listening to others and sharing your opinions. Not only does it let the individual know that their feelings and opinions are valued, but it might open your eyes to a new or a fresh perspective. You know, um, in order to show respect, sometimes we have to think before we speak. It sounds like advice our parents gave us as, a child, but it really is quite powerful. If you immediately respond by discrediting someone's opinions, it can taint the relationship. Rather process the information and really think about what the other person said before you react. If you let your emotions get in the way, this can contribute to animosity and tension. Try to find some common ground. It may seem impossible at first to acknowledge the validity of someone else's argument, but as adults and human beings, we should be able to appreciate and respect the opinions of others. You know, um, Aim to use facts, not emotions, to find something you both can agree on, and then calmly explain your reasoning. And lastly, put yourself in the other person's shoes. A good way to keep yourself from getting defensive right off the bat is to imagine how you would feel if you expressed an opinion and someone's judged you for it. Just as you would not like to be attacked for your opinion, you should not attack or judge others. Whenever you find yourself feeling intolerant of someone else's opinion, remember this rule and extend the same courtesy to them as you would, it expects someone to extend to you. So in talking about, identity, acceptance, and respect, the key component to all of this is communication. And when communication is effective, it leaves all parties involved satisfied and feeling accomplished. Effective communication can help to resolve or avoid problems, or conflicts. It helps you connect with others and share ideas. Effective communication clarifies information. It helps build relationships, teamwork, and trust. It helps to develop your knowledge base, which helps you make better choices. Effective communication builds interpersonal relationships at home and at work. It helps us to understand people, overcome differences, and clarify situations. And effective communication is a necessary skill to advocate for your rights and your needs, and also for the rights and needs of others. Communication goes beyond the message that we send. It also includes how we receive messages. When we receive a message, we need to be an active listener, so, putting whatever it is that we're doing aside and, really paying attention and actively listening to the other person. Try not to focus on what you will be saying. Effective communication involves listening. You need to understand the emotions that the speaker is conveying, listening to the speaker's tone and body language and subtle cues to understand their message. And this helps to build a stronger connection. One of the most important factors in communicating with others is our nonverbal communication. We are aware and in control of the words that we speak, but often the nonverbal cues we send may go unnoticed. So, pay attention to those nonverbal cues. The way you look, listen, move, and react impact others more than words alone. And this is, what's called nonverbal communication. And it also includes body language, facial expressions, body movement, gestures, eye contact, posture, tone of voice, muscle tension, and breathing. Nonverbal communication can help you connect with others and build stronger and better relationships. It can be used to emphasize or enhance our verbal message, such as, patting a friend on the back when congratulating them, for a job well done, or giving them the thumbs up, or, even hugging someone, or just sitting and holding someone's hands, if they're grieving or they're going through a stressful situation. So when we have, diverse experiences in our environment, we have acceptance and respect. This fosters an open environment. And an open environment is the deliberate effort to create an environment where everyone is respected and empowered to contribute equally and supported, with access to the same resources and opportunities, regardless of individual demographics, such as age, abilities, socioeconomic status. One way to support an environment that centers on respect and acceptance is working to understand and alter what is called unconscious bias. And unconscious bias is when we make judgments or decisions on the basis of our prior experience, our own personal, deep-seated thought patterns, assumptions, or interpretations, and we are not aware that we are doing it. So for starters, creating an open environment requires everyone to actively work to understand and alter, the unconscious bias that instinctively emerges, into stereotypes and attitudes towards other groups of people. To effectively reduce bias, we need to constantly learn and question our beliefs and actions towards people, who may have different backgrounds, experiences, and personalities from our own. When people are aware of their own biases, they are able to better distinguish between what is true and what is influenced by their bias. Using inclusive language, another component of creating an open environment is utilizing inclusive language. What do we mean by that? Instead of greeting a group of mixed gendered people with the phrase, "Hey guys," saying something like, "Hey team," or "Good morning," or "Good morning all." These are all ways to be more gender neutral and open and welcoming. Making an effort to recognize exclusion, make an effort to recognize when someone is not being included. This is really quite simple and merely requires people to pay attention to those around them. Above everything, inclusion is being kind and considerate. It's going out of your way to invite a new person to the lunch table. It's asking people about their day-to-day, their personal lives, their future aspirations, and past experiences. It's making connections through your similarities, and also learning from your differences. So at this time, that pretty much sums up the presentation that I had for you this morning on the acceptance and respect. But I do want to open it up, to the group to see if you have any questions, any comments. Did anything stand out to you? So I'm gonna open it up at this time.
You can also type it in on in the chat if you don't want to open up your
Unmute.
mic, or if you can't, you can also type something on the chat.
We have a quiet group this morning, which is okay. I know it's right before spring break, it's testing, it's, everything going on. So
I want to just say something, and I just think we wouldn't have wars if we all followed, you know, This
just
type
being,
of advice, right?
just being, respectful and just listening to one another,
Yeah.
and just appreciating the 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 different backgrounds and cultures and just, all the experiences that we all bring with us.
Yes, and I think like we see it a lot in like the political arena, we see it on
Mhm,
college campuses, we see it
mhm,
everywhere. And I think you're right. We just need to, even if we don't agree with another point of view, we should respect the opinions of others.
mhm.
Um,
And
I
ask
guess
questions and try to listen, to see the perspective or where the other person is coming from and why they feel that way.
yeah. Yeah. And I think like as also like coming here like as a like from the educational standpoint or as teachers, educators, I think we need to make our students feel safe enough to express their opinions and
Mhm.
letting them know that they're not going to be judged like in a classroom or in a lunchroom or anything like that. And as far as parents, I think we should also like let our children know that like our love is unconditional and
Mhm.
to make them feel safe enough to trust us to come to us with anything. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so that was kind of my takeaway from what you said today.
Mhm.
It says here, we all need to practice not judging. We have
Mhm.
no idea what the other person is going through. You're right.
Mhm. It's going back to that, what our parents, said, put yourself in someone else's shoes. You want to treat others the way that you would like to be treated or, respected.
Exactly.
Anything else?
Some school districts are including DEI policies. Can you talk a little bit about it? That's like the diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. And I think with that, if we apply the principles of, acceptance and respect, I think we would have a more inclusive, environment.
Yes. I know I see it like in restaurants and things like that. But because we see students that have disability like physical
Physical
disabilities, learning
disabilities.
disabilities. We see like at Chick-fil-A, for example, I love Chick-fil-A. But we see people that are a lot older in their 60s and 70s
Mhm.
working there. And so I think it doesn't always mean what we think it means. It
Could
just
be
means to be inclusive with
of
everybody.
everyone, exactly. Age, different abilities, social economic status, religious, beliefs, political beliefs. So, it encompasses, all of that. You know, gender opportunities for both male and females. So, it's all encompassing.
Yes. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? No? Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording. Is that okay?
Yep. That's okay with me if it's
Recording,
okay
and
with you
that way if
guys.
I'm sure I stop recording.